Okay, so hello, and I have with me Brigitte, who is one of my lovely clients from a few months ago now, and it's taken us a while to set up this interview so that I can ask Brigitte a few questions about what the process of working with me has been like and how things have changed for her. So, thank you so much, Brigitte, for joining me today.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. And we've just had a little chat beforehand, so you know what to expect. There's just 4 questions and speak from the heart.
Yeah.
Okay, so the premise is that we are going to have a little chat, and hopefully someone somewhere might resonate with what you say, and it might encourage them to seek support, not necessarily from me, but from someone else. Okay.
Yep.
Brilliant.
Super.
Okay, so thank you so much. So the first thing I'd like to ask you is, what did you want help with when you started working with me?
So at that point in time, I was struggling with really bad anxiety, and I was getting panic attacks and feeling completely stressed, overwhelmed, with all the symptoms that come with that of not sleeping and getting sort of various physical problems. And yeah, it was kind of like, it felt like I was in a situation where I desperately needed something and I didn't know what, because I'd tried various things and they hadn't been successful.
That's right. I think I remember. Am I right in remembering that you had finished some talking therapy
Yeah.
and were finding that that wasn't actually providing you with a way forward?
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
It
Okay.
was short. It was only 3 sessions. I'd say it's only, and it was classified as CBT, and it was done by telephone in a short period of time. But yeah, I didn't get anything from that at all.
No, that's okay. So we met actually out away from, you didn't seek me out, we met.
No,
Yes, we met
wonderful
away.
synchronicity.
A synchronicity, yes, a sort of fateful meet. And so we decided that we were going to have a chat, so we had a discovery call together, and from that point you then decided, yep, okay, let's go ahead and book some sessions in. So
Yeah.
what was the actual process of working with me like?
It was a voyage of discovery. It was enlightening. It was well structured. So you were good in as much as you kind of explained up front how things would effectively come together over the period of 5 sessions, I think I had with you, didn't I, as part of that process. And yeah, I always was ready for the next session. It's not like we rushed them through. So we had weeks, didn't we, in between, I think, some sessions, so that I could have a chance to sort of consolidate things and reflect on certain things that we'd covered. So the actual sessions, I really enjoyed the face-to-face sessions. There's something completely different when you're in a room with someone, and it was a complete focus moment for me, because I step out of my world and step into a safe environment that you provided, that just felt like a very secure place, and that it was a very honest exchange. And I would come away from those sessions, well, all of your sessions, but in particular the face-to-face ones, feeling quite, I want to say, elevated, even though some of the stuff might have got me really thinking, but it felt like I was being proactively, no, that's the wrong wording. I was proactively trying to get myself sorted, and my interactions with you were a very instrumental part of that. And I think it was only when I got to the end of the sessions, there was that, oh no, there's no more. And you kind of you feel like you have to sort of, I always say, take your stabilizers off your bike, and suddenly you're out there riding solo. But there was the confidence there that it was going to take time, and you'd given me so many fantastic resources, so and things to think about. So
Yes, and I was going to just say, obviously you're right when we talk, you talk about, it's a brilliant analogy, taking the stabilizers off, because that's the goal. When I start working with anybody, it's easy to think, oh well, when someone's working with me and going through the process, they're going to have the tools or the support or the guidance or whatever. But once, my goal is to get you to a point where you can then kind of go forward into the world with your newfound, skills, understanding, techniques, tools, resources, in order for you to continue, because that's really important. That's what it's all about. And so, bearing that in mind, what has changed for you now? What things are different now to when we, before we started working with each other?
So I definitely have a different perspective on anything and everything that's rushing around inside my head and also externally around my space. I'm much more grounded, and I have got a couple of, I say mantras, but they're things that kick in immediately, because I've got into the practice of having some anchor things around my flat, and one of them is coloured buttons. So I've put, it sounds a bit weird, and my friends sort of see a button stuck to one of my sellotape to one of my kitchen cupboards, but it's one that I go to first thing in the morning to make a cup of tea, and I see it and I go, all will be well. I've got this thing, it is what it is, what will be, all is well. So I have that flowing around in my head, and it's when I realize how effective that can be when I'm having what I call a busy head moment, and I'm a bit freaked out by something, and I'm doing my thing in the flat, for example, and then I suddenly come across a button somewhere, because they're all in different places, and it grounds me, it stops me, and I smile because I think, whoa, okay, it's an interrupt pattern. That's kind of, I think, what works. And I was going to say, the other thing that you and I think we discussed, or at least I've put into place, was the fact that as soon as I get up in the morning, I open the curtains, and regardless of whether it's peeing down with rain or it's a beautiful sunny day from my bedroom window, I immediately go, good morning, world. And I smile, and I kind of hear myself saying, okay, today will be a good day. Regardless of what happens, today will be a good day. So that may not always carry through, because things come into my space and then my head goes, oh my God, here we've got another challenge to get with today. But I love the fact, because I smile, and I know that has an important knock-on effect, doesn't it, to our physiology? Definitely. So I open the curtains and I do that. That's part of my routine, and I've just really enjoyed it. It's so simple. It's such a simple thing, but for me, it's been quite effective. And I think the other thing is to say that I've learned how to just accept, because I think there was an issue further down the line, and when I was first starting to work with you, it was coming to terms with all these things that, life does throw curveballs at us all the time. And I had a lot on my plate, and I was obviously not in the right place at the right time regarding the job I was doing at that point. But that was driving whoever I was had got so sucked into my working world that I just completely lost who I was. And so over the months I've been working with you, and since we last obviously connected, I've just felt my life open up again. I know that I'm not working at the moment, so I've got time and space, and not having the stressful job that I had has enabled me to really reflect on things differently and take some time for me. But my social life, I kind of pulled away, so I've got a social life back, and I'm being proactive in that. I'm actually making things happen regarding my social life. So I think overall, to summarize that very long response, sorry, is that
no, that's fine. It's lovely.
I'm better balanced. Life was so out of balance previously, and I kind of now feel like I've got much more control back. I know who I am. I feel much better about who I am, and I'm not a robot anymore. I'd become a robot. I was in robot existence mode. That's what it felt like, and I've become human again.
Wonderful. Well, it does sound like you found your way back to you.
Yes.
And, we were chatting a little bit before I hit the record button, and you said quite categorically that you feel like you found yourself again because you had become so far removed from who Brigitte is.
Yes.
And so that's really really wonderful to know that you found that. And from this point onwards, whatever happens in the future, that's going to be, you know, my next question, but whatever happens from now on, you're coming from a place and a space of really knowing who you are, what works for you, what's going to be beneficial for you, helpful, and, you know, to create that preferred future, to create that you know, a life that you love. And certainly, you know, one of my goals also when I work with people is to stop them from having a life that they want to run away from.
Yeah.
You know, it's a life, it's so that they can embrace their life and enjoy it. And it's also, you know, I always make it very clear that life is a series of events, some that we can have we can have an impact on all of them. We can have an influence on all of those things, not necessarily what happens, but by our response to what happens.
Yeah.
And so I'm, you know, really glad that you feel as though you have found all of those tools and all of those methods and that work for you to create now, you know, your forward motion, the path that you now are going to go down, whatever that may entail. I know we spoke and you're not quite sure exactly what's happening at the moment, but yeah, no, I'm really pleased. Lovely. Okay, so, and then my final question is, how do you think this work that we've done together will help you in the future?
Overall, because of all the resources that you shared with me, and also because of my newfound understanding of how I can take control of some aspects of not my personality, but especially how my mind thinks, and being true to myself all the time, instead of ignoring things that were probably sort of on my shoulder, banging me, saying, you need to really understand what's going on, and this isn't good, or whatever the situation is. I feel like because I feel much more grounded and real, it's going to make me seriously ensure that I don't fall back into old unhealthy ways of behaving or acting. And hopefully with me getting it right, I won't end up needing to be in a space where I was previously. Or I mean, I can always feel like I could always spend time with you, Louise, I'm sure, because I feel like I said to you just before we came, you know, onto the recording, but there's certain things that, having prepared to chat to you today, there's so many things that I suddenly realized that I'd forgotten I could be utilizing. And they're simple things to do. And it's just a matter of finding time to put those into my routine and make sure that I'm doing. For me, I would like to make sure that it's something I'm doing as a regular practice, because I just know the impact of how I've got where I am now with the assistance of your input, that if I keep doing that and keep doing that, then I can only assume I will eventually find the place where I'm going to, like we were talking about, my future, and I will fit in it. It will be the right fit. So where in the past I felt like I was a square peg in a round hole, but I was ignoring it. And that wasn't just to do with my job, that was with other things. So I think the clarity is there enough for me to say that I can ensure that I develop or evolve to the next stage of who I'm going to be and how my life will play out, feeling a little bit more confident about that. Quite a bit more confident, not a little bit, quite a bit more confident about that.
Yes, I'm pretty sure actually the word clarity is now ringing a bell. I'm sure that was one of the key words that we spoke about having a clarity as to a way forward. And I'm so glad that the work that we've done, and I'd also like to say that you were very proactive. You know, you were a dream client, because there is a certain amount of commitment. Well, there is a commitment that my clients have to make when they work with me, because I commit to them, And in order for them to get the most out of the experience and our work together, there has to be a equal commitment coming back.
Yeah.
And those who put the most in get the most out.
Yeah.
So that was, I was very grateful for you having that desire and that motivation to really throw yourself all in. And it was, so it was, you were a pleasure to work with. So, and I'm glad that you've had the results that you've had coming from your own work. I always like to think that I shine a torch for someone, and they tell me kind of, I'm giving them all the different options there, and then they are taking that path and moving forward for what's right for them. So it's always the client that does the work.
I will say as well, in relation to that, because I think I was so desperate. I'd got to a point where I realized that I was so desperate to find a way out of the quagmire or the fog or whatever. The color of my world had gone quite gray. That sounds a bit dramatic, but I just knew that it wasn't a very happy place to be, and not a comfortable place to be. So because of that, and like you say, the investment, you mentioned it up front, you kind of shared with me that it's going to be really important that to make the most of this opportunity. But I always came away, I set myself homework. So I put aside time in between each session to make sure that I could fully embrace, because sometimes a lot comes at you when you're on a session or with each other in a session. And it was capturing things. I'd like to keep notes and things. So I was really, I really enjoyed the fact that I had homework to do in between each session. And I suppose in a way, it's a bit like feeling like when I came to see you next, or we spoke online, that I'd be able to say to you, it's positive, or if it's not, at least I could share with you where I was still feeling a bit unstable or a bit insecure about something, because it was such a safe environment, to be able to just be honest with someone completely, and then get your expertise and all your very useful advice, guidance, provoking, because you provoke a different thought process simply by saying some words in a sentence. It's amazing how it triggers what it does do to our psyche, isn't it? So good.
Definitely. I mean, I don't like the thought that I would give any advice to anyone, because
maybe that
However, I'm hoping that the questions that I ask and the conversations that we have allow you to have that different perspective, and then you make up your own mind as to what is best for you, most helpful for you. And what I've said, take what's useful and allow the rest to just kind of fade away. But I think I offer a variety of different ways to think about things, or different ways to go forward, and then it's up to you. Because one of my values is empowerment. I want to empower my clients to make the decisions, because they already have the resources within. It's just that they've got clouded by situations and emotions and life events, etc. And I'm so glad that you now feel that the resources and the conversations and the sessions that we had are going to provide you with that structure. We spoke about structure as well, didn't we, beforehand? That structure going forward to create a life that you love and that suits you now that you've come back to Brigitte.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything else you would like to say to anyone who might be struggling with anxiety, overwhelm?
Yes, there is.
Having don't know whether to reach out for help?
So in preparation for chatting, there was something that I've got as a note that said, if someone's in a place where they're not sure and they found out about you and they don't really understand or not quite sure if it's what they want, I think until you actually make that first step and start the inquiry process, then at least you can possibly then make a confirmation decision that you know that it's something you're going to try. So I've just said here, don't hesitate for too long, because it's easy to keep thinking about something, procrastinating about it. But the longer that goes on, it doesn't help you. You're not getting anywhere. I think the sooner you start, the better. Start the journey as soon as you can. So I've just said here that the sooner you start, the sooner Louise will be able to help you move away from your uncomfortable and unhappy state, which will help you to get aspects of your life back on track. And that I feel is quite a nice summary. But I think, again, maybe until someone opens the door and steps through and starts connecting with you and starts the process, it's going to be difficult, because every week, every couple of weeks when we had a session, I didn't always know what was going to come up. I came with a really open mind and tried to keep that open mind all the time, because obviously some of the things that you were doing and we were talking about were new for me. So I needed my brain to stay very receptive and very open, and thankfully it did. I didn't block
Wonderful.
anything. I just went along with it, which is great.
Wonderful. Okay, Brigitte. Well, thank you so much. And I'm so glad that you have a bunch of tools and techniques to keep the progress that you've made and that, path forward in the right direction, moving in the right direction for you.
Yeah.
And I hope that whoever is watching this, that you can take some of what Brigitte has said and perhaps apply it to your own situation, where you then decide to take the first step. It might not be calling me, it might be calling someone else, but until, like Brigitte says, you make that first step, which is often the most challenging, but it can change your life and change how you view yourself and your world. So I would encourage you to seek support and help, because you deserve to have happiness and joy. So I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Brigitte.
It's been wonderful to see you again.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Louise. Take care. Bye-bye.